Hello everybody, welcome back to Dark Souls 3. I am the Orca Theory. So after that embarrassing death to what has been an easy boss for me so far, we're gonna go back into this area and see if we can get rid of that crystal sage. And hopefully, I haven't done this run really in a long time, so I'm hoping I could just dart quickly through it. There are a couple of really tough challenges to this run. The first being this sage right here, who's gonna get in my way, yeah. And then this other one right up here, yeah. But once you get to the fog door, you should be alright. I am not gonna be summoning Aegon, as you might note. Not because he's not a good NPC, but because I got fully wrecked. A mechanic that a lot of people forget, but this started, I believe it was definitely in Dark Souls 1. I forget if it was in Dark Souls 2. Or not Dark Souls 2, Demon Souls. If you have helpful summons for a boss, whether it be a human or an NPC summon, they will increase the boss health life bar. So you see right here, I'm doing some really substantial damage to this guy, and it's not because my attacks are up or I did some off-screen leveling. It's simply because I don't have Aegon in here, so I'm already down to half health for him. We're doing okay. I also need to keep an eye on. Got him. Ooh, want to be careful here. This is how I died last time. Get behind a wall. No! You can see the danger here with this guy. I assure you, he's not that tough. You know, I think it's just because I'm using a strength weapon. This is my first, or a I keep calling Claymore a strength weapon. I'm using a quality weapon. Quality weapons really aren't all that great, but they are a little bit slower than Dex. Get down there, stupid pup. I'm gonna see if he can try to come back up. And I'm used to really quick attacks, and one thing that's in Dark Souls 3 that isn't really in a ton of the other Souls games is that the stagger animations are triggered a lot more easily in these games. My first run through with basically any Souls game is to just use like the standard weapon or the long sword, something like that. Simply because it's so much easier because you get it really early in the game, and it scales well generally with any stat that you want to experiment with. With Dark Souls 3, I was noticing, even in my first playthrough, that there is a substantial stagger amount with any weapon. Of course, that's on top of changes to poise and all that nonsense. Okay, just top off here. What's he doing? He's doing the slow crystal. This is the first real big... I don't actually need my souls here, but it's just good to just grab. This is actually a really good display of his different move sets. He's got 4 or 5 really threatening things that you have to deal with. The homing crystal soul mass that I just got hit with, the giant one, that does the second most damage. You see the smaller ones that float around his head. Yeah, and there it goes out again. I just need to be careful because it will come back around. The little floating ones don't do as much damage, but they will stagger you. He's got a couple melee attacks, but it's that soul scream and the get rid of this guy. Yeah, there it is. And you see these guys actually will go off with one hit. Oh, I got it again. That's the one that got me the first time too. That one's a real bastard of a move. I'm not sure if that will one hit KO me. I think if I top off, I should be okay. Doing it again. Look, yeah, as you can see, this run isn't too bad. As long as you can skirt past those sorcerer guys, you should be all right. Because most of the enemies here are actually melee. You got these 3 sorcerers, the one over here on my right, and then the 2 others straight ahead. Watch out for the spear guy. Epic name, bro. One of my favorite YouTubers and just a consummate soulsman. He often describes the running and dodging in this game kind of like football, where you take a slight jog and then you find the opening and you burst through. That's the best way to get through some of these runs. You kind of do this standard jog here, and then you book it when you see an opening. Come on, trigger. There we go. If I can get 3 hits in, if I take my time. I'm just gonna go run and pick up my souls real quick. Yeah, that is a substantial amount. If I can keep those, I'd like to. Are these gonna trigger? Yes. Okay. So now we're down to about 2/3 health. He's gonna start spawning those other dudes. And I think at this point, I'm gonna make it a priority, because I keep getting hit with the random soul streams. Shit. There he goes. Come on. Come on, you motherfucker. Okay. There's one down. There he is over at the main pillar. I'm gonna get rid of some of these guys. Oh! Again. We'll keep doing it. We will keep going. We will soldier on. If this gets too bad, I'll just erase the footage and fast forward here. Got him. Got him. You can see I was just frantically dumping on my Estus flask. Now, before that other guy comes in, I am gonna quickly rest at this bonfire. That's a danger anytime you rush through an area. Sometimes they'll just be waiting on the other side of the fog door. Let's head back to Firelink Shrine. I need to detox from that. So yeah, the Crystal Sage, as you can see, there's a lot of advantages you can make use of in that boss room. Using the pillars for cover, getting rid of the other Crystal Sages. I'm not sure what the HP count is on the fake ones, the blue ones, but if you get rid of them, it's a little bit less of a chance for damage. Let's take a look at his boss soul. You can see here it's actually a different type of soul than we're used to. It's a blue one, similar to the crystals themselves. Soul of a Crystal Sage, one of the twisted souls steeped in strength. The twin Crystal Sages once served as spiritual guides to the scholars of the Grand Archives, and one went to ally with the Undead Legion. So the Grand Archives is a location we'll be seeing much later on in the game. The Undead Legion we will be contending with very soon. One of the Crystal Sages, there were 2 of them, he went off and joined the Undead Legion. The Undead Legion is a covenant or so, a society of undead that joined together to fight the Abyss. We're gonna figure out why in a minute. I do have an Estus shard, so why don't we go make use of that? And then I want to take a look at his boss weapons and items. We can do that. First, let's talk to our good man, Andre. What's up, buddy? Let's reinforce that. Great, now we're dealing with 8 Estus flasks. Sick nasty. We died a whole bunch of times, so let's, before we go up and take a look at his boss weapon, let's take a look at, drawing out our true strength here. You can keep track of this quest pretty easily. If you go to your key items, the Dark Sigil, if you want to do this quest line, you're going to have a total of 8, 5 of which you're going to get from drawing out your true power. A black gaping hole in the flesh that resembles the brand of the undead. The darkness of humanity seeps from this bottomless pitch black hole, the gap filled by the accumulation of the curse. This dark sigil will never heal, but there is a tale told of a firekeeper who returned from the abyss and brought great comfort to a bearer of the curse. So humanity in Dark Souls 1 is one of those key items that has a lot of lore implications. Humanity is essentially a split up form of the Dark Soul, the fourth Lord Soul that was found in the original First Flame. It was spread throughout all of humankind, and as they lose their humanity, they become undead. What spurned all of that is up to debate. I'm of the opinion that it was Gwyn that attached let me get into that in a sec. I want to focus on this vitality. We might want to increase our vitality maybe 1 point. Can we do it anymore? No, we cannot. No, we cannot. So we'll take a look at his stuff later.
Be safe.
So I'm of the opinion that in Dark Souls 1, when Gwyn linked the First Flame, he had to link it to something. That's by definition what linking is. I believe he linked it to humanity. That is why in Dark Souls 1, you are constantly throwing humanity into the bonfires to kindle them, to create points. I believe that is the case. So humanity itself, the Dark Soul, is feeding the flames that are keeping the world aloft. And when humans lose their humanity, they become undead. Now, the Dark Sign, which we do actually have, that is an item that is in there. The Dark Sign, if you look at it on a character model, and I wonder if we can actually see it on our character model. No, we're currently kindled, so I'm going to have to die in order to do that, which the way I've been playing will be sooner rather than later. In Dark Souls 1 on the character model, there was a big gash over the chest where the heart would be. I believe that's where humanity was seeping out. And so these dark sigils that we happen upon through our good friend down in the basement there and through other means in this game, those are reminiscent of those dark signs, and we're just increasing them. Maybe not mechanically the same as the dark sign, but we're certainly creating more access points for humanity. So defeating the Crystal Sage and getting his boss soul gives us access to 2 separate weapons. Crystal Hail. Unique sorcery developed by extraordinary preacher twins known as the Crystal Sages, one of which we know went up to join the Undead Legion. Cast a cascade of small crystal soul masses. We were hit by that a couple times. In a pact said to have been formed long ago, one of the sages allied with the Undead Legion in order to train the sorcerers of Farron. So all the sorcerers you see from Farron, the Farron Dart, etc., etc., those were taught to them by one of these Crystal Sages. That's why he was there. That's why he was doing his thing. We don't know what that pact is. I wonder if we figure that out throughout the game. Let's check out the other item, the Crystal Sage's Rapier. Thrusting sword with tiny crystals scattered across its blade, used by the Crystal Sages for self-defense. The crystals boost the magic damage inflicted by the sword and the item discovery of its wielder. Fruits of the lifetime of research conducted by the sages. So it's a standard rapier set that has magic damage just augmented naturally into it. It does increase item discovery, which could be useful for lore hunting, which is why I think I'm actually going to get it. Do I have the stats for it? Requires 18 dex. Not sure I want to do dex a ton. We may wait on that. I'm definitely not going to need this, so I might wait on that until I do some farming off camera or something. Now. I will not be away over long. So what happens in this game is as you defeat bosses, as you defeat certain enemies, this woman here will actually get some of their armor sets, and I'm interested to see if this is the trigger for a particular piece of armor. Yes, Sage's Big Hat. This is the hat of Big Hat Logan, but the Crystal Sages adopted a similar style. Enormous hat that completely obscures the face. belong to twin gurus known as the Crystal Sages. Interesting that they put gurus there instead of magicians or sorcerers. The pair are said to be successors to the great sage Logan, and this big hat is a symbol of their pedigree. Just a ridiculous looking hat. I'm not going to bother purchasing it right now. I think that's all we get from them. What I'd like to get is I'd like to get this tower key. It's 20,000 souls. Gives us access to another area here in Firelink, and I think I have a couple of these guys here. I'm going to use them, see if that gets enough. I'm pretty close to 20,000. Yep. Gives me just over the amount. We are going to be purchasing the tower key. Great.
Ashen 1.
Let's take a look at that item. Ton of item descriptions in this game. Ton of items. Key to the decrepit tower. Key to the decrepit tower behind Firelink Shrine, which leads to the Bell Tower. The Bell Tower is the grave of Firekeepers past. When a Firekeeper has served her purpose, she is led to true darkness, where she enjoys a long-deserved sleep. Ooh, boy. The Firekeepers in this game. We see one here. We'll actually try to get the trigger for the second one later on. They get a rough treatment in this game. Not that the Firekeepers in any of the Souls games really get a nice treatment. But they become less and less. There were actually quite a few Firekeepers in Dark Souls 1. Right now, we only see one. There is an optional second that we can get. But essentially, their job is to keep just this flame. In Dark Souls 1, they could reside over a number of different bonfires. I love this giant here. Seat of the Giant. I believe the trigger for this is actually invasions. Once you're invaded a few times, that seed will fall. So we are actually gonna use the tower key. Great. Fantastic. So this brings us up to the upper ramparts of Firelink Shrine. You get a nice little side view. There's not much over here. Not that I can see. Doesn't look like there's anything in the distance. What is that over on that side? Just between the mountains. Let's pull out our binocs. Looks like there's something out on the other side of those mountains you see there right in the center of the screen. Maybe some buildings. Actually kind of looks like some plumes of smoke. Or that could just be some weird cloud textures. I don't think that's anything, honestly. If that is something, it might be something for the DLC. It just might be a different mountain texture. I could just be reading it wrong. But it does kind of, if you squint real hard, kind of looks like something. Nothing off on this way. But you do get a nice side shot of the high wall of Lothric and Lothric Palace itself. Very, very cool. Always take your time to notice your surroundings. Nothing off this way. Nothing off that way either. Looks like there's something glitchy going on over there. Hopefully this is picking up in the feed. Yeah, it was. Man, this game is just glitching out for me. Weird. So if we're paying attention to the geography, and hopefully we're doing a little bit of that. When we came around, we woke up somewhere over in that vicinity, came down, boop, 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 boop. In there, that's where we fought Udix Gundyr. There's the giant tree that I talked about ad nauseum. On the other side of this hill, and the other side of the high wall, because this is actually the last zone in the game, is this structure right here. On the other side of that is Lothric's high wall, and then further on that is the rest of the game. So we are really just behind everything if we're following the geography. Yeah. Gotta be careful backstepping. So if you want another way to get to the roof here, this is the way to do it. You can actually see there's a Snuggly the Crow spot right there. We might take a pit stop there. I'm not sure. I'm gonna let this episode run a little bit longer. I've been running really lax with episode recordings lately. Just busy with the holidays, and I did move recently and just have been super busy with that stuff, so. Can't complain too much. Alright. Yeah, more pop-in textures way off in the distance that way. Makes it look like there's lightning going on. Okay, so this is the bell tower. When we were awoken, this is the bell that was ringing. And we find a very interesting item beneath it. The Firekeeper's Soul. I forget if that's a key item. It is a key item. Soul of a Firekeeper who returned from the Abyss. The Firekeeper preserves the bonfire and serves its champion being us this time. She is said to have soothed and accepted the dark sigil, which has tainted her soul, and yet her soul will one day embed itself in the bosom of another Firekeeper. So, a couple different implications there. It sounds like Firekeepers pass on their soul, which would make canonical sense with some of the things that we saw in Dark Souls 1. Because when you kill a Firekeeper or receive their soul from Dark Souls 1, you have to either put it into the flame or use it, and then it just becomes kind of a useless thing. Embedding it in another makes some amount of sense to me, just in terms of passing on the lineage. What's interesting about this soul is that she took in the Abyss, but she didn't actually go to the Abyss, which is a very real and physical place. You can't explore up here. There's nothing up here, but you can explore up here. It is a very real place that you can actually go and visit in a couple different locations in Dark Souls 1 and in Dark Souls 2, kinda. She didn't actually go to these locations. What she did was she used the Dark Sigil, which is something that we're doing currently right now with our character. Oh. Interesting. Interesting. I could have sworn this was the trigger. Interesting. So normally, and I'm kind of talking on my ass here. When you go up to this tower for the first time, and you get that Firekeeper soul, when you come back down, this door is locked, and Patches is standing on the other side taunting you. I'm not sure why he's not here. There is another location where you can trigger him, which we will be going to shortly. But it's a little weird. Now, I always miss this jump. I always miss this jump. I'm gonna miss it. I missed it. Oh boy. That's alright. Lost what, 1,800 souls, and I lost a kindling. So, okay, I let this episode run a little bit longer than I wanted to. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Next time, we will be heading to the Cathedral of the Deep, maybe grabbing that armor set up there. I don't intend really on wearing it, but just for item descriptions, I'll probably just grab it. May do that off camera. Who knows? Bye-bye.